Don't let the mass media choose for you.
Don't let anybody choose for you.
Absolutely.
You're making God wonder what you're doing. He's creating whatever you're doing in mind. Be sure it's something you want, because you're going to get it. I mean, that's the whole thing. Be wise in your thinking. Like I said, you can only think one thought at a time. And as long as you're choosing it, well, you're free. But the minute you start letting something else choose it for you, well, then you're not free anymore. And you are in charge of making the difference. It's always up to you.
I was thinking as you were talking about the choosing, how many of us have had wonderful creations in the process of being made, and as it was being formed and as it was being created, all of a sudden we shifted and we stopped. So what we have is that creation somewhere in our psyche that's still partially built, that's never been fully manifested, and is still waiting to be created in this thing called life or reality, but never will be, because we keep shifting our thinking to something that's not as beneficial.
Yeah, that's that double-mindedness, I had a bad case of that for years and years and years. And, the thing of it is, you don't even know it. You don't take the time to actually approve of what you're thinking about. If you can't approve of it, well, then stop it. That makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. And if you wake up one of those mornings and you say, this can't be my life, then I challenge you to choose a different life. Choose a different thought. Just one thought in a different direction.
That's it. And stick with it all day.
And stick with it. Stick with it.
It is a challenge to you to keep in memory what you decided to be attuned to, because you are being attuned to whatever you're thinking. And if it's nonsense, then you're drawing to you what fills the nonsense. You don't need it. Don't do it. Stop it. Think only on things that are lovely and of good report. Come on, you can do that. If you're conscious, it's easy to do. If you're unconscious, it goes away. That's all. Simple as that.
You said stop it, and it made me think about sometimes when I'm helping the granddaughter with her homework, and she'll say, Papa, I just bit the side of my jaw. I say, well, stop doing that. She says, well, how did you stop doing that? I said, you make a choice not to do that anymore. It's as simple as that with a bad thought or an error thought, an erroneous thought, a thought that's not taking you in the direction that you want to go.
We all have those errant thoughts.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean anything that you have the thought. It's if you bond with it. If you can't approve of it, then drop it.
Let it pass by. Sometimes we see vehicles on the road, and some we're attracted to and others we're not. Those that we are not attracted to, you just let pass right on by. And those that you are attracted to, you say, oh, I like that vehicle, whatever.
That's it.
Same with thoughts. You don't have to own a thought. I learned long ago that just because you think a thought does not mean that you have to own the thought. Many of us think because, oh, I thought that thought, so it must be mine. It's only yours, as Lindell stated, when you take ownership of that thought, and especially when you begin adding feelings and emotions, and you begin romanticizing that thought. And what I mean by that, when you start giving attention to it as being yours, whether it be an error thought or a positive thought, you choose this day what thought you give your attention to.
Emotion is bonding. If it makes you emotionally, then you're bonding with it. If you've already thought of it too long. That's it. I mean, you make approval of it or drop it. That quick. And you'll get quick at it. And you'll be sensitive to it. You'll know what, it's just like the fisherman who knows a keeper and a release back. Give it back. Because you don't need it. You know, you sit around and dream up monsters, and then you can't handle them. Why do people do that? Because they don't realize they're actually dreaming up the monsters.
Absolutely. That's exactly why they do it. That's exactly what they don't realize, nor do they realize that they have a choice in creating the monster. You know, the thing about Shelley, when she created Frankenstein, she knew what she was doing. And she created now I guess Frankenstein can literally be $1 billion industry now, you know, but that wasn't her goal. She just wanted to tell a good story.
It did show you that man is actually in control.
Absolutely.
He does have control, and the movie made that very, very apparent that we are godlike, and we can build and we can destroy, and we can hate and we can love, and we can do all things. Choose this day. That's it.
Speaking of godlike, something that really hit me that was very powerful when I was listening to Neville recently, he said, you know, in the beginning, God said, let us make man, woman, in our image and our likeness. And he says that each and every one of us was the God choosing, creating in the beginning. We are the let us. And you have to understand in choosing, this is your divine right. And it says that spirit, when it leaves the body, it returns back to source in which gave it, being God. You are the Christ being spoken of. Yeah, your name may be Jerry, it may be Mary, it may be Tom, it may be Lindell, it may be DeCarlo, but it's DeCarlo Christ, Lindell Christ, Jerry Christ, Susan Christ. You are the Christ that's being spoken of in Scripture. You are the Son, the only begotten. Each and every one of us are the only begotten that the Father created. There's none like us. And until we understand that we are sons and daughters of God, that we are our Father's children, we'll continue to walk in a life of chaos in which we were deemed to live heaven on earth. We'll live short of that.
Yeah. Absolute love loves absolutely. That's all you need to remember. That's the whole story. It all turns out okay because absolute love loves absolutely. But you will suffer any thought you think that isn't lovely and isn't good to report. Somewhere down the line, you see, because you can create good, you can create evil. We've already seen plenty of evidence of both. Choose this day. It's that simple. I know you agree.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's that simple. Some of you are going to be tempted to see if you can make it complicated because it's got to be more than that. I mean, I've thought that my whole life as I studied different teachers and leaders and spiritual gurus and so forth. I thought to myself, there has to be more than what it is that I know. And the truth of the matter is, it was always right in front of me from the age of 14 on to now when I looked at Scripture, but I missed it because I was looking for something deeper, something more. And it's not deeper. There's nothing more. Choose you this day.
I hear that. People say, wow, man, that's deep. And I said that, well, that's deep. But what I discovered was I was just that shallow.
All of us. All of us. If the truth be told, all of us.
Yeah, well, that it's hard to see that, because you've always got ego saying, always ready to defend you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and often we can be too close to the accident to really see what's happening.
Well, actually, that's true. You see an accident. Now, you know what you saw, and you were a witness to this, that, and the other, but you see, you don't know the cause.
Absolutely.
See, that's what people miss. They don't really see the cause. They're assuming this and that what happened, but they don't really know the cause. And you really can't place a blame, because actually even insurance companies know that if there's an accident, there's two people involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No.
Two people and three stories.
That's it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. You got it.
Two people and three stories.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. But if you really want to know the cause of things, just listen to what you're saying to yourself, morning, noon, and night, and you'll find the cause of everything that happens to you. But you have to be honest with yourself, otherwise you'll be dodging back and forth. Because it has to happen. What you're thinking feelingly about, it has to happen. So if it's not something you want, man, drop it, because you're the force behind what you're living. He gave you force. Choose this day. Isn't that giving you choice? Isn't that giving you a force?
Absolutely.
And they say the force be with you. Well,
force be with you.
Yeah, well, that's it. You are the force. So be with yourself. Otherwise, you might wind up hurting yourself and somebody else.
Yeah.
So pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. Pay attention to how you think, and see if changing this or changing something wouldn't improve your life. And even when people tell me, well, yeah, I know that would be better, but, but they're telling you they ain't going to do it, though.
Absolutely. You're going to have people that you try to share these truths with, and they're going to fight tooth and nail for their limitations.
Yeah.
You have to allow them to stay there. It's not your job, your responsibility is to share the truths. But it's not going to be your job or your responsibility to make sure they get it. That's going to be on them. And God says that he lose not one. So you leave the truths that you've shared with that person, and you go on about your business and let God do the work. Because, see, we can't know the bridge of incidents that will take place to get that person where he or she needs to be.
We don't know the bridge he went over before he became aware that there's more.
Absolutely.
Because and remember now, those are happenings that happened to him. So they're impressed in his mind. So they're going to be the dominant thoughts. And so when you want to change your mind, you have to actually choose what you're going to think about. Not just hope that it comes by for you. You have to choose it, what you're going to think about feelingly, because that's going to be your world of experience. I mean, try and deny it. I mean, you can't. As you think you are. That's as simple as it. And if you really, well, actually, the big problem was, in the beginning with me, was just not being patient enough with myself to do so. And also, I was always ready to defend and justify anything I did. So you got to get over that, because you don't have to justify anything, because you ain't worthy anyway.
Absolutely.
It's all about willingness. It has nothing to do with worthiness, because, like he said, none are worthy, and that's been there since the Bible was written.
Yeah.
So it must be carrying some weight with it. Yeah.
Well, sir, it's been a pleasure like always.
Oh, yes. I really appreciate the opportunity to actually spill out a little bit.
But likewise, I become the beneficiary, you become the beneficiary, and those who listen also become the beneficiary. So we appreciate everybody that's benefiting from these talks, and we desire to keep them going for you and keep them coming to you as much as we can, and as long as we're able. Sir, we'll talk shortly.
Mr. DeCarlo, talk to you later.
Take care, buddy.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.